Hello and welcome to the Lagos Transportation Agenda. This is a show where we highlight current events, discuss topical issues, and explore emerging trends in the dynamic world of transportation. My name is Austin Iyan. Transportation is defined as the movement of people and goods. On this edition of the Lagos Transportation Agenda, we're going to be focusing on the movement of goods and what impact that has on the economy of Lagos State. We're talking about the haulage and the logistics industry. And no person better to discuss this than the Director of Transport Operations here at the Lagos State Ministry of Transportation, in the person of Engineer Olasukanmi Ojoowuto. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Engineer Ojoowuto and I will be discussing haulage and logistics and its impact on the economy of Lagos when this program returns after this time out. Please stay with us. Welcome back. It's Engineer Olasukanmi Ojoowuto, the Director of Transport Operations at the Lagos State Ministry of Transportation, on the show today, and we're going to be discussing haulage and logistics and its impact on the economy of Lagos State. So how big really is the haulage and the logistics industry, as part of your ministry's activities, as opposed to the transportation of people, aspect?
Yes, the haulage and logistics sector of transportation is huge because, for example, in the state we have 3 ports located here in the state. We have the Apapa port, they have the Tinkan port, and we also have the Lekki Deep Sea port, and these are gateways for exports and imports of goods and services into the country. Added to that is the issue of wet cargo, that is petroleum products that we import from abroad. Most of the tank farms are also located in the state, so we have surge of articulated tankers coming from up country to lift fuel in Lagos. Moreover, the state has developed agri hubs where food, agricultural products will be distributed, throughout the state. And let's not forget that the international route that is Lagos to Abidjan, that Lagos aspect lies in the state. So it's a very huge sector.
All right. Of course, this is in keeping with the fact that Lagos is an economic and commercial hub, not just for the country, but for the entire West African sub-region. But what is the regulatory framework for, how you regulate haulage and logistics? Is it the same as, say, road users and stuff?
Yes, we have robust regulatory mechanism for managing, haulage and logistics, sector, and we separate that, subsector from commuter transportation. We have guidelines. Added to that, we also have a committee in place in charge of truck and cargo, that is association of the owners.
Yes.
And with this, we are able to manage their activities. Moreover, we are in sync with the Joint Tax Board and the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service in order to ensure that we reduce the menace of multiple taxation. So we've come up with single interstate hacking for buses, for trucks, and we have other papers unified as one. We are going forward to ensure that they can easily access these documents online, and they can make e-payments. So we making sure that the regulatory framework ensures that there's ease of doing business in the state.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. It seems to me that some of these facilities you mentioned are owned by the federal government, although they are located in Lagos State. So where is the line between your regulatory authority, between yours and that of the federal government? Won't you be maybe overlapping into territory that, and vice versa, both federal government and that seems to me like something that might bring some kind of conflict.
Well, in the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, there are some parts that are of concurrent. So when the transportation falls amongst that.
Okay.
We've talked about infrastructure of the federal government domiciled in the state.
Okay.
But the state runs the transport sector.
Okay.
So of course, before you access the warehouse, like MPA's warehouse, you go through roads.
Exactly.
Managed by the state.
Okay.
And we look at the Lagos Seme, Lagos Badagry Expressway that leads to Seme. You can see that the input of the state government goes even beyond managing the roads. Lagos State is investing a lot in bringing the right infrastructure, like putting a blue rail from Maitu to Okoko and the BRT corridor. Okay. So there's a collaboration between the federal and state to ensure that transportation is done with ease.
Okay, what's the relationship between the state government and private logistics and haulage, concerns? Because we've had one or two complaints in the past from these private operators concerning the manner in which the words like predatory have been used, by some of these people. So what's the relationship in terms of compliance?
One, the state makes sure that it engages the body of those who are players in that subsector of transportation. Apart from that, we also have regular stakeholder engagements with them.
Okay.
And when we cascade the initiatives and projects of the state to such bodies or associations, managing the affairs of those in haulage and logistics and business, we also now use the approach of the carrot and stick method. So when they fail to comply, we go by the way of enforcement. And I was going to say that in haulage and logistics, we still have those who do their business with two wheelers, that is motorcycles. They are also into haulage and logistic business too. They are doing a lot, in helping the economy, because they ferry, goods that are less than maybe 5 kg or 10 kg, and they have a body that interacts with the ministry, and they share their problems with us, and we defined or designed ways by which we help them to tackle their problems, like the illegal toll collection by non-state actors on the streets. Sometimes we collaborate, we go on enforcement, and we arrest some of these criminal elements, and we ensure that they are prosecuted. Okay. Besides, we have several engagements with them, how to also assist their riders to get the requisite training in order to promote safety and health safety on the roads too, because it's very critical. And we ensure that they also provide for the welfare. They take care of the welfare of their operators.
Okay. All right. When we return, we will be discussing or getting into what I would call the business end of this discussion, and that will be after this break when the Lagos Transportation Agenda returns. Please stay with us.
Great economies are built on good transportation network. This is why Lagos State Government through LAMATA has been working tirelessly to enhance the state's transport infrastructure and implement the Strategic Transport Master Plan (STMP) for Lagos and create a world-class transport network for the metropolis. The STMP would deliver 6 rail lines, 1 monorail, 14 BRT routes, 26 water transport routes, 3 cable car routes, and several road interventions to promote the integration of the transport modes. When all these projects are completed, there will be lower emission, leading to better health for all, lower road crashes, better quality of life, and faster economic growth. With the BRT already running in some corridors, jetties being upgraded, and rail line from Okokomaiko to CMS coming on board soon, life of Lagosians in the face of Lagos is changing every day. A healthier and more prosperous Lagos is in the making, and LAMATA is driving it. LAMATA, keeping Lagos moving.
If you're just joining, is the Lagos Transportation Agenda, and I'm with Engineer Olasukanmi Ojoowuto, who is the Director of Transport Operations at the Lagos State Ministry of Transportation. You mentioned one aspect, non-state actors and the interference in the business. What other challenges do you encounter, and how are you surmounting these challenges? Or what have you done to surmount these challenges?
Thank you very much. Let me say some of the challenges that I've not mentioned here. We have the issue of individuals, becoming operators. I own a truck, I put it on the road. In other climes, we have registered fleet or global operators that carry out haulage. So, but when you have an individual who puts a truck on the road, it's not easy for the government to manage.
Yes,
because we'll be dealing with several individuals, which makes it cumbersome.
Yes.
So that's one issue. Saying there's an issue of lack of support infrastructure. Are there warehouses, warehouses to take in, what comes in from, up country or from the ports? So that issue of infrastructure, in that value chain is critical. Apart from the fact that some roads need to be maintained, because the roads should encourage free flow.
Yeah.
So that is also an issue. But the government is working on all this. Number one, for the non-state actors, we have an enforcement team clamp down on illegal toll collectors. So we do go on enforcement, and we do this even with the security outfits of Nigeria. The Nigerian police, sometimes we enlist the services of other security outfits in the states. And I said earlier, we're trying to ensure that their documents are unified.
Yes.
So that even if you're coming from Ogun State to the port or wherever, to an industry to bring in raw materials or to take finished goods, the document that you've gotten in that other state will suffice here in Lagos. Okay. So we'll be able to eliminate some of these bottlenecks of those who say, I'm from this state, I'm on the road, you can pass through my state because you have not gotten these particular papers, But by unifying that, documents that they should collect, in a way, we'll be tackling the issue of non-state actors. And of course, the state is building as many roads as possible and is maintaining, a lot of roads. We see the Opebi Link bridge that's been constructed, the junction improvements over there at Ikorodu, the repair works at Third Mainland Bridge. So the state is doing all, it's cool to ensure that haulage business thrive, because it's driving the economy.
So how is the ministry leveraging on technology in dealing with this particular industry in terms of regulatory framework?
Yeah. Number one, it's a known fact that you can manage transportation effectively only with technology. We've seen that, and that is why for the Lekki-Epe corridor, the state has gone into a PPP, public-private partnership, with a technology provider to deploy technology in scheduling the movement in and out of articulated trucks to that particular corridor. And we also gotten stakeholders from the private sector who would have to invest in infrastructure. That is satellite truck parks and also brigates. So for any truck or articulated truck rather that is built to come carry cargo or drop cargo in Lagos in that axis, would have to log in to that portal. When you log into that portal, because already that company, and besides, we don't want to be dealing with individuals in the haulage interface. So there's an RFID attached to the truck that interacts with the barriers of the satellite truck parks. So if supposing now a truck is supposed to pick a box in Lekki Deep Seaport, is coming from Ogun State, before it comes into Lagos State, it has to log on. When it logs on, now there'll be a confirmation from Lekki Deep Seaport that truck with so ID is coming to move cargo. Then that truck will be deployed to a particular satellite truck park. And before the truck accesses that truck park, the RFID on the truck must interact with the barrier of that particular satellite truck park. And that's the sequence. From there, it moves to a brigade, that is the nearest facility to the final destination. And there, it also must tally with the information that's on the system. And from there, it assesses maybe the Lekki Deep Seaport, picks its cargo, and goes away.
Wonderful.
So that is one aspect of use of technology in designing the ecosystem for the movement of trucks. And we are replicating what we're doing in Lekki corridor also in the Apapa, Tinkan, Kirikiri, Abule Ado, Abule Osho for wet cargo. We have clusters of tank farms in that area. So we're working with the tank farm owners. We are working with the petroleum truck drivers. We are working with all relevant stakeholders. Now, what we want to achieve is that we want the roads to be free for all users, either it's truck, whether it's commuter, and private individuals. So we don't want articulated trucks on the roads again. They have to be situated in the various satellite truck parks. And from there, they will be called to the tank farms to lift the fuel and go. So we also going to achieve that by means of technology.
Just throw more light briefly on the agri-hubs that you mentioned. How also does this help in making the agri-hubs answer to effectively to your objectives in terms of haulage and logistics?
We all need food. We can't survive without food. At the same time, the food must leave the farms to the markets, from the markets, to wherever, and to the final destination, where, to households. So for that, the state has looked at, all right, let us have a hub so that the farmers can bring, their items there, and from that hub, it can be transported to markets.
As opposed to markets. Hubs are not markets.
Well, the word hub is all encompassing. Hubs, market, and besides, the state also has its own facility for storing, grains. And sometimes these grains are bought over from the farmers, to the state, and the state now, make sure it gets to the market, to households. So the state is, working holistically to ensure that transportation supports that aspect of, agricultural foods, getting to final destination before it becomes a waste.
Yes.
We are still lacking behind in
terms of storage, and
preserving and processing.
Yes.
So the state is working assiduously to ensure that, pending when we get to that level,
exactly.
The food items don't, just rotting.
That's very good. Before I let you go, sir, let's say I want to invest in logistics and haulage as a first timer. What do I need to do? And this is a question that I've been asked to put. If I get the opportunity to ask this question, you'll be surprised how many people want to know. First timer wanting to operate in Lagos State, what do I need to do?
Well, I guess the first thing you need to do is to get your feasibility studies, to get your acts right, to get your figures. You must have a financial plan.
Yes.
And the next thing to do is to come to the Ministry of Transportation and know the requirements in terms of documents, in terms of other guidelines that you need to adhere to.
Yes.
Thereafter, you also need to discuss with the recognized bodies managing the affairs of that subsector of transportation. And they will also be able to guide, as per their own requirements, because they have rights to, manage, members of their unions, because their unions interface with the government, and the government appreciates dealing with groups of people, unions, associations, rather than dealing with one-on-one individuals. So I think those are the basic steps that one needs to take.
Engineer Ojoowuto, thank you so much for your time. I know how busy you are, so we don't take this for granted. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. I'm grateful.
And thank you for watching the Lagos Transportation Agenda. I hope you join me next week at this time on this very station for yet another very important discourse on transportation and all its manifestations on the Lagos Transportation Agenda. Until then, this is Austin Ian saying, take care of yourself, be responsible for others. God bless you. Bye-bye.